Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Market Wrap. So I am back in Philly, and for all of you who were wondering, I was in Miami for 3 days, and it was awesome. 82 and sunny, got to be back with my old friends at a watch show for the first time in 15 months. It was great to be back on the road, and it was just great to see everybody and be in the sunshine. So I have 3 amazing watches this week that I got to see. The first watch I found at the show, it's a vintage Franck Muller, a 2800 QP. It's a white gold perpetual calendar. It's a really early example of his work. Now we sometimes forget that early Franck Muller, he was kind of one of the original independent watchmakers. He became so successful that we kind of forgot that. But now we get to see some of his early pieces coming through, and they're just amazing. This is a great example, super rare piece. My second favorite is a Vacheron. Now this one is a stainless steel Cornavache chronograph. It is 38.5 millimeters. It is an amazing chrono, absolutely beautiful. Those lugs. This one happens to have a gorgeous strap on it. I think it's a truly underappreciated piece, and I love having that in the collection. So last but certainly not least is the Credor Eichi II. It's in platinum, it's 39 millimeters. It is just an amazing porcelain dial. I love this watch. We never get to see them. Now, Credor is part of the Seiko group. They're made in their micro artist studio over in Japan. They produce a mere 20 pieces a year. It is obviously all sold out. It is considered one of the finest three-hand watches produced anywhere in the world. So I had the great fortune of speaking with Philippe Dufour at Dubai Watch Week almost 2 years ago now, and the high praise he has for Credor is amazing. I think it's just super high quality. I think it's super high finish. I love everything they're doing. Great high praise from whom was considered probably the best watchmaker of our generation. So I was able to attend my first show in 15 months. It was great to see the guys. It was great being in Miami, connecting with everybody again. But it was also great to get a real feel of the market. Now, the show was about 60% of what it was 2 years ago, but the energy and just enthusiasm was really back to where I remember it before. Certainly the most active brand right now is Rolex. Now, everybody's talking about the strength of Rolex. Certainly over the past year, it's continued to grow, prices continue to rise, and we're just seeing more and more trading. I would say probably 30 to 40% of all that activity happening in the room was in Rolex. Now, most pieces continue to rise in prices. OPs, day dates are all hitting new highs, trading strong and super fast. We're also seeing a lot of vintage activity. Vintage continues to be in very short supply, especially for really clean models. So while production of the new goods has normalized, the demand for pre-owns continues to grow, and I don't believe we're going to see this trail off anytime soon. Now, Rolex seems to have made all the right moves over the past 5 years, and the strength of the secondary market just keeps feeding the demand. Collectors have figured out that they can buy a Rolex, wear it daily, enjoy it, hold it for a few years, and have it hold value, and in many cases appreciate in value. It's as good as almost anything you can buy. So the next show won't be until July, and hopefully we'll be back in Miami again. But I can't wait till we can start doing international shows. Hong Kong is calling my name. So I always love to hear what's on the mind of our audience. So we opened up questions on social media, and we got some great ones this week. So we're gonna hit a few of the highlights here. So the first question comes from Tejas_B_S. The next big thing in independent space. So it's a great question, something we discuss often at WatchBox. Obviously, we were early to the game in Journe, and we love independence. We've done extremely well with Gronfeld lately. I think they are doing great things in small batches. We are very big fans of de Bethune and especially Denny's early work. I personally love some of the early Franck Mullers when he was a real early independent. And I also love early Daniel Roths. And we're seeing more and more interest in the auction world on these pieces. Now, I think it's fair to say that this is the best market we've ever seen for independents, and I expect with the focus on rarity, on quality, and the overall demand for independence, I think we're going to continue to see this market grow, and I think it's going to spread across a number of brands. I don't think there's going to be just one standout. I think the whole space is really going to pick up over the next year or two. So our second question comes from Augusto AP. Do secondhand watches lose value if they don't have box insert? Well, first answer easy is yes. We certainly find on modern watches, when I say that, maybe sub 10-year watches, we might see a $5,000 to $2,000 hit for watches without box and papers, what we call naked. On older watches, now it's less common, especially on vintage pieces. So instead of what I'm saying really losing value, what we see is people put a real premium on pieces that do have box and papers. I think the standard market assumes the watches are naked because people didn't save it back then. So if you do get a complete set, it really adds a premium to a vintage piece. Our third question comes from Elias Nizam. First, he asked, do you think Vacheron will become more popular, and do you think the blue 4500V will compete with the other Holy Trinity models? Well, great question. I love this one. I've been a huge advocate of Vacheron, as I think they're very undervalued, and I've been actively trading the overseas for at least the past year. I think the early generation pieces especially going to continue to rise. The second generation with the big date, super active, super positive about those pieces. And the modern pieces are now starting to trade over retail. Now, I don't think they're going to get to the level of a 5711 or some of the APs, but certainly they've got a long way to go up. I think it's something to continue to watch. So our last question comes from Indonesian Wish. Future used Grand Seiko market, do we think the price is going to appreciate? In a word, yes. Grand Seiko has been one of the few brands last year that grew. We've seen much more global demand. The demand in the States is very strong. We're seeing more and more people understand the value of Grand Seiko. If you look at the fit, the finish, the quality of the pieces, the values are going up. People are really discovering the early pieces. I think they represent a great value in this market. It is definitely a brand that we're actively pursuing, and I think a lot of people should look at, because I think in that kind of $3,000 to $10,000 price range, it's an exceptional value. So that was this week's Market Wrap. We hope to see you again next week.